Hello, my name is Douglas Jensen. I had to think about that. And I decided to do my project on Baroque and Contemporary art, the many differences between the two of them, considering the time gap that's acceptable, I suppose. So, history lesson first, right? The Baroque period is roughly 1600 to 1750, and it includes many. I tried to include the names that I'd heard about just a little bit maybe before this class. So there's Rembrandt, Vermeer, Rubens, Rouge, and the contemporary period is from 1900 to today, which is disputable, I suppose, because some people consider that part contemporary, some people consider it modern, some people say there's a split. I don't know. Contemporary period is 1900 to today. So it's got it's got a lot more big names. It's got Salvador Dali, Georgia O'Keeffe, Keefe, Andy Warhol, Picasso. It's got a lot more artists. For the sole fact of this was 400 years ago, and these guys were significantly newer. So over time, of course, you're going to lose art. You might lose people to history. And so that's sad, of course. But I mean, it's a fact, right? So if you want to follow along with me here, you just, I don't know what it is in the teacher's book, but if you open the textbook to page 97, we have we'll take a look at Gian Lorenzo's Ecstasy of St. Teresa, okay, which is a sculpture, and it's got the flowing clothing, right? That whole revealing but still shows movement type deal. And so it's nice, it shows movement, it tells you a story. And then we turn to the next page, we have Calling of St. Matthew, which is it's a little bit of a darker painting, I suppose, mainly in color, not necessarily in content. But it tells you a story. Everybody in the painting is doing something. Everybody has a job to do or whatever. And then on the next page, Judith slaying Holofernes. Well, yeah, they're definitely doing something there. They're killing the guy. And it's even Serrani's Virgin and Child. It's much more of a it's much more of a portrait type deal, but at the same time, she's still holding her baby, she's still showing affection, whatever. So it's telling you about them. And then we have Triumph of Saint Ignatius of Loyola, who is, I mean, just look at that for a minute, and well, you could look at it all day, really, and you would still find something new, some little story off in the corner or what have you. And it's amazing. And then on the next page, we have Franz Hall's Jolly Topper. And that is yeah, these two paintings here are much more of a portrait type deal, but at the same time, they're still doing them. They're still doing something. The guy in the first book the first painting is waving. He's saying hi. It looks like you're having a conversation with him. The guy in the little boy next to him, he's playing a flute. He's a musician. The instruments on the wall may tell you something about him. What he's doing might tell you something about him, but it's still like a portrait, so it's still like showing his face and what have you. On the next page, we have a couple of Rembrandts with Captain Franz Baning and his company, right? And so it's this guy getting the troops together. It's this wartime story. And then next to that, we have Rembrandt's self-portrait of himself as an old man. And so that is very much so a portrait. And I don't know if this is intentional or not, but if you look at the cracking on his face, it almost it that almost tells us something about him in and of itself, right? Like you can it's like he's a cracked old man, if that makes sense. He doesn't feel the same way that he used to. He can't do the things he used to. So he might feel broken, and that shows in his face. It's that sort of thing. And then on 107, we have Rubens' Garden of Love, which is definitely telling us a story. It has a moral even. It's the dangers of the pleasures of flesh, right? And so again, that's another extremely detailed painting where you can just find new weird things. And then now we're on to contemporary art. So if you turn to page 351, we'll start off with Henri Matisse's Femme au Chapeau. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm not French, but it's a portrait, right? But whenever I'm sure if you went in to say, "Hey, just paint a painting of my face. I want to give it as a gift or something," you wouldn't expect them to make your face teal or your eyebrows red. I don't know. Maybe she's a redhead. Actually, that would make a little bit of sense. But just look at the vibrance of the color. It's making you think a little bit. You look at it and go, "Huh. I wonder why her eyes are teal. I wonder why her nose is blue." Yeah. And then again, on the next page, if you look at Pablo Picasso, he's those don't look like actual people. You can tell they're supposed to be people, but they don't look like anyone in particular. And so you have to sit there and go, I wonder who these people are. I wonder what they're doing. I wonder what's going on here. And so you sort of stop and look at it for a while, and you think about it, and then the eyes follow you as you walk away. It's that sort of thing. And then we have the Portuguese on the next page, and now we're starting to get into more of the abstract style of art, where it's at this point it's still very clean lines, but it's also very clustered. And so you're sat here left to find some sort of meaning in the chaos, I suppose. And then, yeah, if you turn the page, it just gets worse with the chaos. We start having all kinds of crazy colors and crazy shapes. And then turn through some of the content. If we go to page 359, back to the art, we have this urinal looking thing. This looks like an upside down urinal by Duchamp, The Fountain. And so you have to sit there for a minute and go, huh, I wonder who R. Mutt was. I wonder what that flag in the background is for. And so you come up with the ideas yourself. You make your own storyline. And again, with Salvador Dali on the next page, Persistence of Memory, that guy, he's famous for being weird, If you ask somebody about Dali, they might not know what you're talking about. But if you ask them about the guy that painted all the melting clocks, they know who you're talking about. He's not famous for being an artist, he's famous for being weird, if that makes sense. And so if we look at his painting for a minute, we have a whole bunch of melting clocks. It looks like there's a dead tree growing out of some sort of box. And I don't know what that thing in the middle of the field is, but it looks like a horse. I always thought it was a horse. I guess it could be a bird. It looks like it has a beak towards the back. I don't know what's happening there, honestly. But you have to sit there. You have to look at it. He's already got your attention by this point. And then right next to it is probably my favorite painting because it's just weird. It's a fuzzy cup and saucer and stuff like that. And so you're just sitting there like, does that function? Can I get soup out of that? Is it gonna try to bite me if I go to drink tea? Or how do you clean that? Is it dishwasher safe? You pull it out of the dishwasher and you have to use a blow dryer to clean it off. I mean, but it's already got your attention by that point, right? You're sitting there looking at it. And then if we go to 365, we have a cute little flower. So Georgia O'Keeffe is not, I wouldn't say it's abstract. It's more of a beauty and nature type deal, where she took an object and then beautified it through art and through vibrant colors. So that's always nice. And then now we're on to abstract expressionism on page 401. And yeah, Jackson Pollock's Autumn Rhythm number 30. Just do me a favor, turn back to page, I believe it's 97? No, 99. So just put a finger in each of those pages, right? Put a finger on 401, put a finger on 99 so you can flip back and forth. And on page 99, take a look at Elizabeth Sirani's Virgin and Child. You know, she's holding her baby, blah, blah, blah. Colors are nice. You can see what's happening. It's telling you a story about her holding her child. She obviously loves him. Child's even got flowers for her. I don't know. That's a smart guy, right? And then you turn to 401, and, yeah, on just quick examination, I don't see any babies. I don't see any women. I don't see any children, you know? It's they're very different styles of art. And so with Jackson Pollock, he's sort of making you think about it. It's it's just interesting to look at, I suppose. And then on the next page, we have that mosh pit of browns and tans and reds and pinks. And you could just look at that for a while and be like, okay. But if you read the title on it, Flowering Limb, then you can look back at it and you can see, oh, I suppose that looks sort of like a tree, you know? It's like a tree with little flowering blossoms of pink and red. I don't know, maybe I don't know what the orange is, but it could be a tree, you know? And on the next page, we have Mark Rothko's Red, Brown, and Black. Now, I sat here and looked at this for a while and was like, yeah, I still don't get it. You know, I sat here and watched it and I didn't get it. But if you read the definition the book has for it, as soft-edged rectangles of various colors that are theoretical and philosophical representations of contrasting states of emotion and discipline. Sure. I mean, that one I don't get, but the rest of these, yeah, I can understand. Oh, okay, that's interesting, or that's cool, or I can sit here and look at this for a while. Like the one above it, excavation. You could see it's sort of like a sandy dig site or whatnot, where there's all these relics buried in the sand. It's interesting. It's plausible. I don't know how squares are most supposed to make me emotional, but I guess it's his thing. It's not mine. And then if we turn past 409, go to 410, the art starts to make a little bit more sense because it's we have let's a look at Andy Warhol's vegetarian vegetable from Campbell Soup 2. And so it's interesting, you know, it reminds you of your childhood, right? You can sit there and look at that and be like, oh man, I remember the last time I had alphabet soup. And you can think about, you know, your friend or your mother or what have you, or maybe you were at a party and you were eating alphabet soup. I don't know, it's not my life. But it makes you think, you know? You have to sit there and say, huh, and it calls on your emotions rather than the artist. I think that's a major point here, is the Baroque period was really about observing, you know. These artists were telling you the story, and you're going to listen. Whereas with the contemporary period, it's more about how do you feel? What does this painting do to you? What are you thinking of right now? And so just think about the last really good book you read. Was it one of those that just told you a story and you were done with it? Or was it a book where after you read it, you sort of just laid back a little bit and you said, huh, that's interesting. You know, you had to sit there and think about it, right? Yeah. And so it leaves a longer impression on you if you sat there and thought about it rather than it just telling you the story, right? Now, at the same time, if it's a really good story, that might leave a good impression on you. But it's harder for that than it is to make you think, you know? And that's why I think the St. Ignatius of Loyola, that painting, that one, it's you look at that and go, wow, yeah, I couldn't do that. You could lock me in a room for 24 hours for the next year and yeah, no, I still wouldn't have anything close to that. I could trace and I wouldn't get that good, right? Like you can sit there and go, that takes serious skill. But at the same time, drawing something that makes somebody think, that's a skill in and of itself, right? And so The art of old was really sort of a artists were celebrities back then. You know, they were rock stars. So you look at the greatest guitar solo nowadays, or somebody hitting a high note when they're singing, and it's like, wow, I really wish I could do that. Well, you look at those kind of paintings back then, like the Calling of St. Matthew, and you can say, wow, that's really good. I really wish I could draw like that. I wish I could paint like that or whatnot. But with the contemporary art, you can look at Andy Warhol's can of soup and go, well, yeah, I could do that. There's somebody got paid to do that, and then he drew it and got paid for it again. I mean, come on, let's be artists, man. It'll be easy. And so, it's inspiring the next generation of artists. And so I think give it another 30, 40 years, and well, first of all, I wonder what art will be doing by then. But most importantly, it'll bring more artists out, right? If all they have to do is draw a can of soup, you can be like, oh, hey, let's be an artist. And so it's really going to leave a lasting impression not on the people that saw it, but on the art community itself. And I think that's got its own sort of importance to it. Well, that's all I got for you today, so thank you for watching.